Good morning, good afternoon. It's the 7th of September 2020 and I'm just inspecting my hive formally for the first time since I added this small nucleus colony exactly 2 weeks ago. Things I'm expecting to find, hopefully, he says, is that all the combs are running straight and true and not stuck together. It's just the end board with a little bit of feed on the end. It's like a pollen substitute and a bit of sugar in there. So don't need to worry about them starving in this early stage of development. And the other thing I'm looking for is clear evidence that the queen, who's been there now for 14 days, is laying. Anything after 8 days will be sealed, so that's very easy to spot. So that's generally what I look for. If I was a professional at this job, I would also be looking for eggs and larvae. Larvae you can spot quite easy with the naked eye. The eggs are a bit of a struggle. They're like a very small grain of rice. Definitely you need your spectacles on to spot the eggs. So just lifting this up, it's drawing out nicely, nice and straight. What I'm doing there is just checking to see what I can see. Now I remember seeing lots of pollen in there, which is typical. Pollen's like dark coloured, packed into each of the cells. It's quite dark coloured, slightly different in colour depending on which plants have been foraged. Typically find pollen sort of on the edge of what's called the brood nest, is where, or in other words, where the queen is laying. The reason for that is the nurse bees like to feed the young larvae lots of pollen, which is high in protein, to help them develop, so they don't want to be walking too far to find it. They also store it just above the brood, and then put the honey above that, so that the food resources are above the protein resources, if that makes sense. So just looking at this one, I think by this stage, again I should have held it up better to the camera, you can clearly see there's evidence of sealed brood, which is the sealed stuff in the middle. Now you'll also note that what I should be doing is holding the frame vertically, but holding it diagonally like that is not the way to do it, as we'll see on the next frame when I am punished for such slack behaviour. There we go, little squirt of smoke just to keep them calm. Don't need that much smoke, but it's blown away nicely, so there you go. Right, here's another frame that's looking good. And what you're about to see off camera is not how to hold it. So this one might be the next frame I managed to pretty much drop. Yep, there it is. Whoops. Got off lucky there. Thankfully they will repair that, but it could have been catastrophe. It could have dropped off and fallen indoors into the box. If that had happened, what I could have done is got some rubber bands and reattached it. But let's be honest, that's sort of that's a solution to a problem that I shouldn't have created, really. But there you go. Got off lightly that time. Right. Little toot of smoke again, just to calm them down. That little shock. I think if I can count correctly, there's 4 more bars to look at before we reach the brown marker which denotes the end of the hive. Just cutting off where it may be attached to the sides. Clearly I put my smoker right in the way of the action. There we go. Another great frame there, full to the top. Should hold it up to the camera, but that's got lots of brood in there which will be hatching out probably within the next 7 to 10 days, I hope. The benefit of that is that the population numbers will rapidly increase given that it's quite late in the year, this is very important, because the bees that hatch now are most likely the ones that go through the winter. Here we go. And another one for the brood. Again, this should be hatching the next week or so. So there should be a rapid change the next time I look in there. A lot more numbers. I think their behaviour will change in the sense they can now afford to send more of them out foraging for food for their winter stores. The hive is just coming into flower, and that's the stuff that they will utilise to fill their frames with pollen and nectar, really. And nectar in the form of honey if they store it, which they should. There we go, that's coming on nicely too. Down the far end, that plastic container tub thing, that's a feeder which is full of sugar water. Shouldn't need to do that under a normal situation. This is a young colony that's not quite established, so just gives them the extra boost so they don't starve, essentially. And that's pretty much it. I'm just returning everything back to its original place. And I would suggest that's a success. There we go, look, last view. Nice and gently does it. There we go, and that one as well. Just give it a wobble, get bees out the way. And then finally the end board, which is this one, which denotes this end of the hive. So that's looking around about 7 or 8 bars at the moment. Try and get that up to 10 by the time the winter comes. We shall see. I'm going to stop it there because the rest of the action is me faffing around putting the lid down. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.